All right, here we go.
All right,
We're in 1976,
1976.
and you had just gotten a job. You retired from the Army July 31st,
Right,
and you got a job with EDS.
EDS. We drive to San Francisco, and you go to Long Beach to start uh, your second year of college at Long Beach State.
Right. And so you guys drove out to San Francisco.
Right, we get put up in a temporary quarter facility again.
Right.
Uh,
Another move.
Another move. It's in San Francisco. It's in downtown San Francisco. We're in a hurry to find a place to live so Jackie and Utah can go to school, start school. A couple of weeks away from school starting. And EDS gives me the time to go look. California at the time really preferred you not to have kids or pets. But if you had kids, they want them, and you had more than one, they wanted the same sex. They didn't want to have boy and girl. I never could understand the reasoning behind that.
At apartments?
Yeah,
Really?
really.
So you would go to an apartment, and if you had a boy and two girls,
You'd be okay.
you'd be okay. But if you had a boy and a
They didn't
girl,
want you.
that makes no sense.
Well, that's California. So we find a place in Marin County, which
Right.
is out of San Francisco, going north, across Golden Gate Bridge.
Right.
And it's about the third or fourth town when you get across the Golden Gate Bridge. And
It was a nicer area even back then, right?
It was a nice area. Marin County was a nice area, and we were in Marin, and it was Marin County, and it was nice, and it was a townhouse-like apartment,
Right.
and it had a gym thing, and I think the school was real close to it too. I don't think Jackie and Utah had far to go to school. I think they actually walked to school.
Right.
And so my commute's about 40, 50 minutes. I have to take a bus.
So where are you driving to?
I drive from Marin into downtown San Francisco.
Okay, so that's where you're working is
That's
downtown.
the office is in downtown San Francisco. And the objective is for at EDS, you go into the Systems Engineer Development Program, and phase one of the program is you go to a customer site, preferably in the area, the genre of industry that you're going to be in.
Right.
I went to healthcare.
Right.
So I was going to spend my time, at least my initial time, in EDS and healthcare.
All right, so let me back up here. I didn't ask this. What job did you get hired for at EDS?
The Systems Engineer Development. I was going to go learn the business side of healthcare.
Right.
And usually it was going to be 18 months.
Right.
And then I was going to go to a school that was set up in Dallas, Texas.
All right. But you were going to be a programmer.
I was going to write programs.
All right. All right. And so, but when you first got hired for the first 18 months,
you work at the customer site.
They wanted you to go work with the customer.
So understand their business. So
Okay.
you could understand why you were doing things with code because you understood what the business was doing.
Right. And who did you work for? Who did you go out there to work for in San Francisco?
Blue Shield.
Blue Shield.
Right. Blue Shield and Blue Cross in California were separated. They're two different companies. So the EDS had a contract with Blue Shield.
All right. All right. And so I guess you started working for them.
Yeah, went to work, showed up, got briefed by, I think the guy's name was Ron Prather, was the SED leader. I think was 7 or 8 of us there at the time. And the guy by the name Ron Prather was in charge of it, try to move us around, get the training we needed. So he introduced me to the company, told me what the rules were, what we were going to be doing, where I was going to work for the first couple of months or weeks, and then we'd, make an adjustment based on what I'd learned and how they felt about where I was at and that type of thing. And we were in downtown San Francisco, and the headquarters for the office in San Francisco, where the data center was on the Embarcadero. It was right on the coast, right on the beach there.
Right. San Francisco Bay.
Right. It was right there. Get on the ferry, go across to Alcatraz. But it was right there in that location. And so every day I get up, got on the bus, went into the office, basically worked with the customer to process claims, bring claims in, take them
Right.
out of envelopes, et cetera, et cetera. Part of the training was we had a guy there by the name of Jack Eshelman who was an efficiency expert. And so he would sit with us and talk about efficiency. How many times you open the drawer to take your pencil out? Don't do that. Put your pencil on the desk. And so all these physical movements that were being made, look at them and see if you can reduce them, and also look at them, see if you could program them.
Right.
Okay, so I spent my time doing that.
So we need to have him talk to Patty because I keep all my shit on my desk.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there's a difference too. You got to be able to find it.
Okay, so so that's what you did. Went from department to department, learning.
Right,
the
learning
different-
healthcare business.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was different. I was in the military. I wasn't the boss. I was, a grunt taking orders, just like when I was a private.
Right.
It was okay with me. One of the guys asked me, "How can you go from that to doing this?" So I said, "Well, when you're on the team, you got to know what position you're playing,
Right.
and whatever position you're playing, that's your job." And mom at that time, she went to work for a depth finding company. They actually made depth finders and did
Right.
welding and stuff. And periodically on weekends, we'd have to go in and go to the data center, which was at the headquarters building, and make sure that the reports for Blue Shield were being printed properly.
Right.
And so you got an opportunity to go down there, go into the data center. And so once in a while, every few weekends, you'd work. But again, it's a duty. You got a duty roster, you rotate, you do your thing.
So how long did you do this in San Francisco?
We stayed there for probably 7, 8 months, Jim.
Into 77.
Yeah. They told me I was going to go to class in February of 77.
Okay.
So we decided we're gonna EDS would put you up in an apartment building if you go as a family, and we'd continue to pay for our apartment because the idea was you're going to go back to where you came from.
Right.
Uh,
So they put you up in a place in Dallas.
yeah, what was the name of it? It was on Central Expressway. I don't recall the name of it, but we had an apartment right on the Central Expressway.
It's right where Central and
Yeah.
635
Meet. Right.
It's gone now.
No,
Right?
it's still
Is it
there.
still there?
It's still there. It's in Richardson. Okay, so we move into the apartment. Jackie and Utah have to change schools in the middle of the year, so they're going to Richardson Elementary School, and I start SED class. One of the things that I was told when you came to work for EDS in the SED program, the requirements were you had to go for however long you're going to learn the business. You had to go to a school to learn how to write COBOL and assembler language. But if you failed the school, they were going to terminate you. Before I left for Dallas, they called me down to the headquarters, and they told me, whether you pass the course or you don't pass the course, we want you to come back here.
So don't worry about if you pass or not.
Yeah, I sort of put a sour taste in my mouth, okay. But it was a nice thing to have. I had a job.
Right.
And so we went to Dallas, and I started going to SED school. In the middle of the time that I'm going to SED school, the company that mom went to work for to make depth finders called up and asked her to please come back. And the story behind that was she went there the first or second day, And the standard at that company was about 30 a day. The people that were working there could produce about 30 a day. And I think Mom was there the second or third day, and she did about 50 of them. And so when they called her in, they said, "We want to walk through these with you because we think you've made some mistakes." And so they walked through, I don't know, the first 20 or 25, and they're all perfect. And from then on, Mom would make 90 a day, 100 a day. And when we went to Dallas, they wanted her to come back because their productivity went way down when she left.
So they wanted to bring her back.
They come on back. We'll pay for the trip. We'll any expenses we'll pick up. But no, I said no. We're not doing that because then we have no choice of where we're going to go when I'm done with this. And the more I was in Dallas, the more I liked it.
Right. Yeah. With Mom, if she plants roots, you might never get her out.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're in, and I'm going through class. The class was you wrote code. You had a coding sheet. You wrote your code on a coding sheet. You could submit it to a key punch, and they'd key punch it, and then you get your deck of cards, and you could run it through the computer and do the test you were supposed to do to get a grade for that part of the course. Now I learned how to code in Hartford, and I'd worked for Travelers for a couple of months before we got transferred. So I knew how to code. It wasn't like, and so it wasn't, I passed the school. And then we were debating, today Mom would want to go back to San Francisco. Tomorrow she'd want to stay in Dallas.
So after you passed, you had to decide if you were going to stay in Dallas or if you were going to go back to San Francisco.
As we're getting close to the end of the class, the company wants to try to get you where you want to be, but you got to tell them. And I was changing every day where I wanted to be. And finally, I just got Mom in the car. We drove out to Plano, here in Plano, and we bought a Fox and Jacobs house on Cherokee.
Right.
When I looked at it, nice house, brand new, signed contract, and that sort of ended the debate of where we were going. And EDS let me stay here. So I got out of SED school and I go to work in the healthcare industry. My first job is developing profiles for hospitals and physicians. Profiles are how they bill.
So you were a coder. You went to work.
I went to work at coding. I was working for a guy by the name of John Kearney.
Right.
He was my immediate boss. He's a really, really, really sharp guy.
And how long did that last?
Well, I coded. I think I went through one season of profile building, and then they asked me to manage, and they wanted me to manage two groups: the profile group and I think the front end of a Medicare group.
Was this now? What year are we in? About 77 or 78?
We're 78 probably. Right. We're probably sometime in 78. And as I sort of do that, I manage both groups, and probably 79, they call me in and say, "Hey, we want you to manage the Texas supporting team that's supporting Texas Blue Cross and Blue Shield."
Before we get there, so in 78, they asked you to manage two groups.
Right.
And you became a manager.
Right.
And you managed the groups.
Right.
From till when?
I managed those two groups probably into or through 79. I'm not sure. I'm not sure of the time, because as we go through this, you're going to see I moved around a lot. And it was at the request of the company. It wasn't anything I was doing. It was, they would say, "Hey, we got an issue over here. Would you go do this?" And so they had signed a contract with Texas Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And I think it was standard business. I'm not 100% sure. It was healthcare, running their healthcare, but it wasn't like Medicare. It was their standard business. And they were having big problems with running the code and getting output to the customer that they wanted that they could use, getting the claims processed. And they asked me to go down and take over the group. And there was probably 40 people in the group. One of the groups was the system processing claims and stuff, and the other one was membership. The membership thing was pretty good because it was fairly stable. The claims processing was one having all the problems. And they sent me down there to run Texas, and they sent a new guy to be over Texas and Iowa. And the new guy was Jack Kelly. And Jack Kelly had a reputation for being a hard ass, but getting things done. And we ended up officing right beside each other. And I have said before that my management was by walking around. I added a piece to that. I did a thing called See Me, and every month, everybody who worked for me had to come see me, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, however long you wanted to talk. And we're going to talk about something, whatever it was you wanted to talk about. Work, personal issues, sports, whatever. We're going to sit down and talk. I wanted people to understand they come to me and talk about anything. And I'm about 3 weeks into being there, and a young guy comes in and, so you know why Texas is failing? I said, no, I haven't figured it out yet. He said, well, I'll tell you. And it was talking about you run programs out of libraries. And one's a user lab, and that's sort of locked down, and it's like gold. Nobody's allowed to touch it except the data center, and you have promotion or program promotion requirements. You promote one from testing to production, and it goes through some vigorous tests so you make sure you get the right stuff. Well, these guys had, since they started, they've run out of model. They'd run out of the test library.
Running it out of the wrong library.
Running out of and so every day it would change. And so they'd get a different result every day. And then I had to go explain it to Jack, and Jack said, well, how long do you think we're going to fix this? I said, I don't want to give a date, and I sure don't want to give a short date, even we'll work hard, but I'm going to say 6 months. He said, that's reasonable. Let's go talk to the customer. Well, I went and talked to the customer account manager who I'd known and told her what had happened. And she was not happy about it, and I told her how long it would take, and same thing, try to get it done quicker, but I don't want to promise something we can't deliver. And so we said 6 months.
That was a problem. This problem they were having, that was existing when you got there.
That was the issue that they were having with the customer. Then nobody had figured out why this was an issue. And I didn't figure it out. This guy knew it. He came in and told me. He probably had told other people.
Right.
But nobody wanted to listen to what he had to say.
So how long did it take to fix?
I think it took us about 2 months, 2.5 months. But everybody on the team, and that team was probably 15, 20 people. Everybody was on the team, worked late, stayed, worked hard, did a good job in doing it and getting it back to a stable environment. I had one of the gals there was a PhD, and I asked her to put together a quality assurance team. And we're going to put whatever you need. And everything we ran had to go through that quality assurance team, and it had to get signed off by the customer. If the quality assurance team signed it off, they took it to the customer and got it signed off. And then we'd implement it.
All right. So how long were you at this job?
So it took about a year to get everything straightened out, was running right. And they're going to create a new data center in Dallas. They had Dallas 1, they had Richardson, they're going to create Dallas 2. And they're looking for an ops manager. And Jack Kelly said, you got to go get the experience, get the backgrounds, you know about the SE side of this thing. You're going to be managing, go get that piece. And so I said, okay. And I went over there and learned what you do in the data center. And I was fortunate because the guy in the ops manager in Dallas 1, I think the name was Jim Harrington. So I went over there and got to know Joe, and I said, "Hey, can I show up at your morning meetings and stuff so I can see what you guys are doing?" And yeah, so I spent a couple of weeks going down there while we were bringing business into D2 and learned what they were doing and just went back upstairs. And my thing always was, how do we automate stuff? You know, things break. How can we see them when they break and not have to wait for half an hour to say, hey, this isn't running. How can we get lights to flash? And
So, like you hear about data centers in the news right now,
right.
right? Is that what we're talking about? I mean, that kind of data center that you're setting up?
Yeah, I'm going to say, yeah, I'm not, I haven't followed what they're doing in AI, but it's a bunch of storage. I can tell you that because you're using AI, I'm using AI. And if I ask AI something a month from now, I can go back and say, we were talking about X, and it'll pop up information that we had talked about. So that's a ton of storage that these guys have to use.
Now, you weren't setting up hardware. You were doing what, the software side of it, or both
No,
sides?
both sides of it.
Both sides of it.
Okay, so the data center had a hardware group, and they had a systems engineering group where they maintain IBM's operating system software. And IBM would release changes and they would change it. And we could customize some things that we needed to do. We could do some things with the operating system. And you had programmers that were trained in the operating systems. And we put in new hardware. You had the hardware group would set up time schedules, and we'd usually do it on weekends and nighttime.
So basically, from an empty building to a fully functional operating center.
Yeah. And then in those days, it was advantageous. You got a computer, and EDS would buy big computers. So they put 5 customers on the computer. You could run any kind of job on it.
Right.
So you have 5 or 6 customers on the computer. Well, in the initial phase of EDS services business, you could buy 1 copy of software and run 5 or 6 customers. Software companies over time figured that out, and so it was per customer.
Right.
You had to get a license. So that sort of put a little bit of crimp in
Profit.
the profit margins.
Right.
But yeah, so early on, it was a great opportunity. Buy a computer from IBM, put their software on it, run 50 guys on it if you want to.
All right. I think this is part 1.
Okay.
Then on EDS.
Okay.